Where are we going today, girls? Where are we going?
Upstairs.
Let's go see Daddy present.
We're gonna go see some.
Mine.
We're gonna go see a lot of fishing stuff.
You're a lot of fishy.
All right, we're here. All right, guys and girls. We're at the convention center today for the Midwest Sports Show, and it's gonna be a busy day for sure. And yeah, so you guys are gonna be watching today's video, and we're gonna be presenting our seminar about bass fishing. And then after that, we're gonna be at the tank talking about some fish trolling. I'm gonna have my GoPro on too, so those of you guys who couldn't make it, you guys could, watch it. Or those of you guys who just wants to learn something new, or just a refresher about some, tactics and, fishing related stuff. But yeah, we're about to get in there. We're gonna shoot some videos, and you guys are gonna see. All right. Inside there. We are about to perform.
Drop down just like we did yesterday.
Hello, mic check. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so let me get on this stage. All right, well, hey everybody. Thank you guys for coming to my seminar, and thank you guys for coming to the Midwest Sports Show. My name is Bindi Vang, and if you guys don't know, I am a fishing YouTuber too, as well, as some would like to say it. And I am from the Twin Cities, like many of you guys. And today we're gonna be talking about bass fishing, all right? And I think I am the only one giving a seminar on bass fishing, so hopefully you guys are able to have a refresher on some things or learn something new. So let's go ahead and get prepared. So success on the water is all about seasonal preparation. As we see the three images there, currently winter is over, and now we are transitioning to the spring. Now, after the spring, we're going to transition into the summer. And so we have to understand bass, right? So to understand bass, we have to understand what they go through. So in the winter time, they are in their wintering holes. And into the springtime, they're going to transition into their pre-spawn and spawn modes. And then in the summertime, it's post-spawn to summer patterns. And now I'm not going to be talking about the fall pattern or anything like that. I'm just going to be talking about spring and summer for this seminar. And so the thing about spring bass fishing, weather is key. I'm pretty sure most of us could agree that yesterday was absolutely beautiful, right? And then today is just completely different. And so that's exactly what I mean by weather is key, especially for bass fishing. So imagine this, you're out there fishing early in the spring, it's beautiful out, and the next day it's cold. You go out there and you fish that same bank where you were catching fish, but everything changes. And what changed was the weather. So weather is key to having a successful day on the water, especially for early spring fishing. And now let's talk about the migration. So here we have an example of Lake A. Lake A is an example of your bowl type lakes where it doesn't really have anything too deep, or it doesn't have any kind of crazy backwaters. So we can see our friends, our bass, they're hanging out in their wintering hole, and this is going to be your ice fishing time of the year. Now you could find them in flats, roaming with the panfish and roaming with baitfish, and they're usually hanging around the breaks too. And the breaks usually contain a lot of your leftover milfoil, a lot of your leftover pondweeds and whatnot. But as spring comes around, a lot of these bass, they're gonna be moving to the spawn area. And what exactly is the spawn area? And the spawn area is different depending on lake water clarity and lake depth. So as we can see here, we're gonna see a lot of the spawning area in the shallow water. In the springtime, I actually like to bike around this lake, and I would bike around the trail, I would stop, and I would just peek in the water. And as you guys know, as the season changes, you're going to see a lot of fish come shallow as it gets warmer and warmer. And eventually, as you get into early May, you're going to start seeing some bass cruising. And in this next example, we're going to have Lake B. So Lake B is actually more of your other lakes where it has those back coves, those shallow coves where it looks protected. And so these are very popular areas for bass to come and spawn. As we can see from the map, Again, we have a wintering hole, and this time we have deeper water access. We're looking about 20 feet, and we can see our friends, our bass, they're hanging around the basin, they're hanging around the weed lines and around the bricks. These fish will actually roam around these depths too here as well. But when they want to spawn, they're gonna come up to all these backwaters, all into these very shallow bays where it's protected. And so where do you want to start? So think shallow water. So bass, they will follow the bait. Fish, they are in migration from deep to shallow. And what you want to target is flats near spawning areas. And what I mean by flats near spawning areas is, as these fish start to push up, it's not always going to be a perfect scenario where they come up shallow and spawn. Like again, I was talking to you guys about how weather changes, and weather is key to fishing, because they might push up shallow one day, and then tomorrow, for example, today, it's going to be a cold front. So those fish, they're going to push off, and their mood is going to change. So what lures might you want to use? And so here are 3 of my successful baits for early spring. We're talking about April. But then again, when we talk April, I'm traveling over to Wisconsin, I'm going down to Iowa, and I'm going down to South Dakota. Bass fishing in Minnesota is not open until mid-May. So here are my 3 favorites for the springtime. Cannot go wrong with a jig. If you guys like bass fishing, you guys know flipping jig is a absolute key. Can't go wrong with a chatterbait. Red, for some reason, just works really well in the springtime. That chatterbait is actually a big blade chatterbait. If you guys haven't used that yet, it's very different from your traditional chatterbait. Your chatterbait, the blade is like this big, right? You know, it's smaller, but a big blade, it's a lot bigger. And with a bigger blade, you have a bigger thump. It's gonna feel like a crankbait coming in. You're gonna feel it coming back and forth, back and forth. You could pause it, rip it, pause it, rip it. And the bass, they will usually strike it as soon as it falls and it comes up, they'll strike it, or as it falls down, they will come down and they will pin it down. And last year, I recently tested out the flat-sided crankbait. And there's a lot of hype behind this bait for early spring or cold water temperatures, and I had massive success with the flat-sided crankbait last year. I was fishing in water temperatures to your low 40s. 42, 43 is the water temperatures that I was using the flat-sided crankbait, and that one is a Shimano Macbeth. The Shimano Macbeth flat-sided crankbait is a great crankbait because it has jet boost. So jet boost is a mechanism inside the crankbait. When you lean back and you're about to launch it, the crankbait has a little mechanism that springs back and pushes forward. So it's kind of like those ball bearings inside a bait. You know, when you look inside a jerk bait, you can see it go back and forth when you load it up. And now we're gonna talk about some alternatives to the jig. And I'm sure a lot of you bass guys out there know that a Texas rig is awesome for the springtime. You can go weightless too, especially if the water is glass calm. You can also use the dark sleeper lineup. The dark sleeper lineup, or the sleeper crawl lineup, is one of my favorites too. It's a lure made from a mega bass, and it represents kind of like a goby profile, but it also mimics like your bait fish, your panfish, and also you can't go wrong with a Ned rig. And now let's talk about some of my other alternatives to a moving bait in the spring. You know, I talked about the chatterbait, I talked about the flat-sided crankbait, but there are going to be other options that are going to be great. So we're gonna be using a big swim bait, that's a Huddleston, and we're gonna be using a jerk bait, Megabass Vision 110, and a swim jig. The swim jig there is the Megabass Waze, golden shiner color. It has like a blade on the bottom, and you can use your 3/4 ounce or ½ ounce to 1/4 ounce, depending on what water depth you want to use. And there's a spinner bait at the end. All very great using chatterbaits and moving baits for the springtime, but some of my favorites and most successful spring baits has been chatterbaits and flat-sided crankbaits. And now as we transition from the springtime to the summertime, summertime is actually one of my favorite seasons to fish, and versatility is king. And what do I exactly mean by versatility? It's because there's so much things you could do. You could fish shallow, you could fish deep, there's so many things you can do. Summertime is a mix of post-spawn and summer pattern. Some late bloomers will spawn, big females will return offshore or stay shallow. Big schools of bass will form. Prepare to fish shallow or offshore. Mid-late summer can be incredible as most fish will pick up summer weight. And where do you start? Depending on the lake depth, shallow, dirty lakes will usually be shallow or weed lines. Deep, clear lake will usually be deep weed lines or offshore structure. A mix of both can produce shallow and deep fishing. All right, so let's talk about the summer split. So we know that the bass go and spawn in the springtime. But where do they go after the springtime? Where all the weeds come in and everything gets choked up, they split up, right? And so as we can see here, our bass, they spawn shallow and they actually migrate offshore, or they migrate to mid-range water depths. As we can see this hump, we're looking at about 8 feet going up to 4 feet. And we look into this deep hump, we're looking at 9 feet all the way down to 25 feet. And the weed growth grows deeper depending on the water clarity. And I actually do believe that there are going to be groups of fish that will migrate, and there are going to be groups of bass that will stay on these offshore humps. Just because it's the winter doesn't mean all the weeds die. I'm sure we all ice fish before, and you get on your hump and you pop it in and you're on some grass. There's going to be fish there all year round, and that's what I believe. And now let's talk about shallow bass fishing. So as we can see there, that's actually me setting the hook, and that's shallow fishing. We can see lily pads, we can see submergent vegetation, and we can see emergent vegetation. So shallow fishing, you're usually fishing docks, you're usually fishing vegetation. You could literally see the bottom most of the time, and it's typically less than 5 feet of water. Now, what lures do you want to use when you're shallow fishing? I'm sure some of you guys, or most of you guys, have thrown every single bait I have listed here, and these are some of my favorite, especially when you head into June, July, August. This is when summer fishing can be very fun and very exciting. So punching is an absolute awesome way to penetrate shallow vegetation. Frogging too as well, you can use it in the thickest of the stuff. You can fish it in your pads. Flipping jig, just like in the springtime, you're always gonna have it tied on. You can flip all the milfoil, all the little patches, all the little areas where you see openings to fish. Can't go wrong with the Senko, the worm as well. It's great for using under docks. I'm sure you guys can just wacky rig it, skip it under some docks and catch bass under there too as well. And now we need some volunteers. Somebody take a look at this. Where is the fish? Can someone guess?
Then you got the log, the dock, and the pontoon. Those are the 3 top things I go for.
Exactly, and you're right. That's exactly where the bass would be. So with these 3 different types of shore cover, we have a fishing dock with a pontoon, and we got some lily pads, and we got some timber. Bass obviously will be in these areas, and I have all these different lures, but they all work in different areas too. You could use the Senko on the timber, you can use the jig on the dock, and you can use all these baits in rotation. So now let's talk about mid-range. And what exactly is mid-range? Mid-range is a medium between shallow and deep, and these can be your flats. Mid-range is dependent on lake depth and weed growth, typically less than 15 feet of water. So you're looking at, you're not on top of the hump, you're not exactly shallow, you're not all the way deep to the weed line. You're in that middle range where you scan on your light scope, or you're driving on your boat and you're looking, and you're just miles and miles of just like vegetation growth. That's your mid-range. So mid-range, what do you like to fish for? These are some of my favorite baits to throw. So I'm sure some of you guys can agree too as well. Then again, we got the star favorite, the jig again. It's perfect for dragging to those isolated weeds, those weeds that are a little bit more patchy. We got the dark sleeper, and we got the chatterbait. Can't go wrong with plastics too as well, because you can always use your T-rig to flip through submerged vegetation. And now we have a mid-range area. Now on the lake map, we can see we get to about 18, 19 feet of water, and at this hump, we actually get up to 10 feet. And to the right, we see a point. Can somebody new select and, guess where some fish will be? Anyone? Point and rocks? All right. Let's see where I place the fish. You guys are right. So we got fish right at the shallow point, transitioning into the rock ridge to the offshore hump. And again, we have all the baits that I have listed earlier here, but they all can be used in rotation. And now let's talk about deep fishing. I love deep fishing. What is deep? Deep is anything offshore or in the basin of the lake. Deep is where the weed line ends. Deep is offshore basin suspending fish, usually less than 25 feet of water. And what lures, right? And so some of you guys may be familiar, some of you guys may not have any idea, or maybe you guys have heard it, but the jig minnow. It's a relatively new trendy bait in the Midwest. Has been an absolute killer in professional bass fishing, if you guys follow that or anything of that. The jig worm is a OG bait, a very popular bait that got very good in Minnesota. Star favorite jig is back. Ned rig, swim jig, and drop shot. And now we have an example here, but in deeper water. As you can see in the basin, we go all the way down to almost 50 feet, but we have a point here that goes up to around 30 feet with some offshore rocks, shallow vegetation with a shallow point, and we have a hump to the right there. Can we have somebody guess where the fish will be?
Fishing that deep point.
Deep point? All right.
I'll work my way up that point till you hit the weed line.
Exactly.
How about also the area where the elevation changes the most, the fastest?
The break line too, yeah, right at the point. And let's see where I place my fish. Voila. They're everywhere, right? But that's the thing. It depends on water clarity. If you're on a deep, clear lake, these bass can be as deep as you think. They can be as shallow as you want, but you have to find where they're at. So for example, I have this jig minnow, offshore, drop shot in the weed line, jig worm, weed line, Ned rig on the rocks. You're flipping your jig in the weed lines. You're ripping your chatterbait through the grass. And now, I talked a lot about these tips. Now, do I have any proof of some giant fish? Yes. So, let me tell you guys some stories about some giant fish that I've caught. So, to my left here, we have a 6.4 pound bass that I've caught. And I actually caught this fish flipping some cattails shallow. Middle here, that's not me, that's my wife. And she caught an absolute pig. Well, I like to say she caught it. I actually caught it, and I was like, here, babe, you hold the fish, let me take a picture. Boom, and I posted it online, I get 1,000 likes. If I posted it, 2 people would have liked it, right? It would be like, no, that's not cool. But when a girl holds up a fish, the guys are like, yeah, that's a big fish. 6.7 pound bass. I actually have that catch on video. I will show that catch later. And man, shallow fishing, shallow giants. Remember I was telling you guys earlier, the split? Some big mamas stay shallow and they get fat shallow. Some big girls, they move offshore to those weed lines. To the right, we have 2 6-pounders that I'm holding there, a 6.2 and a 6-pounder. Caught those in October using a Texas rig or a punching rig. Basically what I was doing, I was fishing a huge flat. You're looking at around 5 to 6 feet, and the wind was just blowing. This was in October too. I caught 3 fish that day, 2 6-pounders and 1 4-pounder. What I was doing was I was using a heavy rod, straight braid, bombing it out there, letting it sink to the bottom. This is all I was doing, lifting, dropping, lifting, dropping. And when they bit, I would drop it and I would just feel, boom, and I would just set the hook. And I caught 3 fish that day. It was cold too. And now, let's talk about some deep giants. Question?
Yeah, so that one was October. Were the other 2 like midsummer or in the spring?
Great question. So, this was actually all in 1 year. August, September, October. Crazy. It was the craziest thing ever. This was in 2019. And it was the year where I caught 4 6-pounders in 1 year. I was feeling like I was on top of the world. First 6-pounder, I'm like, whoa, this is giant. Catching on almost a 7-pounder, I'm like, this is crazy. Get out there again, I catch 2, and I'm like, this is nuts. I wonder how a 7-pounder looks like. I was like, So fascinated with that idea. And this is when I didn't tournament fish yet. I just wanted to go out fishing just to enjoy my time on the waters, just to catch fish. And let's talk about some deep giants. This was last year. And remember I was telling you guys about the jig minnow technique? Well, I remember when I brought that technique over to friends and peers and senior anglers of my community, and I was like, hey, do you guys think this is gonna work in Minnesota? They're like, nah, that jig minnow stuff, it don't work. It only works down south where they're scoping fish. Our bass here, they live in the weed lines. You can't, our bass aren't in the basin. But then I'm a fan of the sport. I'm watching these guys on YouTube use these little minnows and they're catching like giant fish, and I'm just like, there's no way this doesn't work in Minnesota. Our fish down south and up north, they're not gonna be different. And so I was so obsessed over that idea. And so I was able to implement that idea. I was able to find fish offshore. I was able to use that same technique down south and apply it to Minnesota waters and catch giants. As you guys can see the weights, 5-pounder, 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 6-pounder. The right there is the digital scale of a photo that I took. 27 pounds of bass in one day. Crazy, right? And the thing that contributed to that day, again, was weather. I was telling you guys how weather is key, right? Especially in this, it changes in the summertime. It's hot, 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 and a storm rolls in. Those fish go crazy. I'm sure you guys had experiences with that too, right? Once those clouds come in, the fish, they just start going crazy. The pressure drops, their ear bladder changes, they can just go around and just start attacking bait and going crazy. This is when I started to learn a lot with using my electronics as a tool too as well, and I was able to use everything in combination to just land all these giants. And now, let's get to the star of the show. I was telling you guys how earlier I was fascinated. I caught 6-pounders back to back to back, and then I actually took a 3-year break. I couldn't catch a 6-pounder again. I just caught 4s. Sometimes I would catch a 5, and I'm like, why come I can't catch a big fish? What's going on? And what? I decided to try tournament fishing. I decided to go fish these lakes in the metro that I thought were lame because they got jet skis flying everywhere. They got people playing. I'm like, these lakes got no big fish. But then I was forced to practice at a lake. And what did I catch there? Right here. 7-pounder. A 7-pounder in the metro. Again, just using that little jig worm. Not jig worm, I'm sorry, I mean little jig minnow. All right? 7.14 pound bass at 21 inches. It was the fattest thing I've ever seen.
Deep?
Mid-range.
Mid-range.
Mid-range. And I actually have a video of me catching this fish too. I will be showing that to you guys too as well. So after this slide, I got 2 videos to show you guys. So you guys stay put and watch that. A 6-pounder and a 7-pounder. Here goes the jig going under the dock. Fishing shallow. Flipping docks. Nothing special, just flipping to the docks. Watch this. .7 Metro.
Knocks all the time. I don't see fish like that.
Fattest thing ever. .610. And that's the 610 right there. And this is my recent video. I lost it when I caught this fish, so be aware. I am going to sound like a little girl. Watch this. Cast
I'm a little bit
jig
embarrassed to
in.
watch it, but watch, it's crazy. I caught this fish
That
by
works.
accident, by the way,
Look,
watch.
There's one at the bottom, I think.
This is when I was practicing for a tournament on Green Lake in Chisago, by the way.
Landerman's Point.
Yep.
You get 25 pounds off that point.
Biggins on that point. So that's the strolling technique. I'm gonna be at the tank demonstrating this at 2, so if you guys wanna see that.
Is this that minnow?
Yep. Jig minnow, or mid strolling.
What the heck?
Mistake, I'm telling you guys.
It's a bass. Oh my god! Dude! Dude, what the frick is the freaking... It's a freaking tank, dude! What the frick?
I got you. Oh my god! Dude!
What the fuck?
I'm telling you guys, I lost
Powder,
it.
dude! What the fuck?
Oh my god!
Sorry for the cuss words.
Get the camera, dude. What the frick, dude? What the frick,
I lost it.
Guys, I am shaking right now. We just caught a freaking monster largie, dude. What the frick? Dude, we're supposed to catch this on game day.
Dude, this thing is huge.
Dude, this is gotta be like a 6-pounder.
It's a 5 for sure.
Dude, I think it's a 6-pounder. Dude, look how freaking big this thing is.
Yeah.
What the frick? Dude, it's a stud. What the frick?
Get a weight on it.
Dude, incredible. Freaking out, okay? This is a big, big fish. Alright. Oh, no way! Oh! That's a PB! Dude, that's a freaking PB! That's
7.14.
7-pounder, bro! What the fuck? What the fuck?
I lost it. I lost
Dude,
it.
what?
Didn't see it on tournament.
Dude,
Yeah,
what?
no. Catch and release, guys. She's good to go.
Go.
Did not want to let her go. I'm actually getting a replica done. 21 inches, 7 pounds. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for attending. Any questions? Go at it.
When you're strolling with a jig and minnow, how do you figure out where in the water column it should be? How deep it is? If you do it near the bottom, across the weed tops, through the surface, or how do you use your electronics to figure that out?
Yep, so good questions, by the way. So these will be questions I will be going through again during my tank session in a little bit too. I will be demonstrating that with my rod and reel. But basically with this type of fishing, mid-strolling or jig minnow, what you want to do is fish your same offshore or weed line areas or humps, right? You don't need electronics to do this. You don't need your live scope forward-facing sonar. All you need to know is that, are you at your point? Are you at your hump? Same places where you would cast and drag a jig, same place where you would throw a spinnerbait and slow roll it at the bottom. You do the same thing with this jig and minnow and you will catch fish too as well. Or if you do have the electronics and if you do have your forward-facing sonar, look at your weed lines. You're looking at your forward-facing sonar, it's pointing, it's on spotlight. You can see the weed edge. You can see where the weed breaks off. Cast right there. You could even see the fish sometimes too. Cast, count down. 1, 2, 3. You're watching your line go down, 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 and you're at 10, 15 or whatever, the line slacks. Okay, you're at the bottom. And the main thing you want to do is not reel right away, but what I like to do is move my rod tip first. And what that does is you're slowly reeling in that slack, and imagine that bait at the bottom. It's doing this, and it's slowly lifting up. It wants to be in the strike zone, but at the same time, you have a big profile in the strike zone, but it's moving slower than your spinnerbait, but it's remaining in the strike zone, right? And that's what gets these fish to trigger. And now, good questions. Do you want to be at the bottom? Do you want to be mid-range? Okay, you're not counting down to 20, you're counting down to 10. Okay, now you're mid-range. But that's up for you to find out. It's different each and every single time. I've tried this technique on a boat. As you guys can see, it works. I've tried this technique fishing a pond down in Chanhassen. It works. No live scope, no forward fixing sonar. I'm at the shore, cast all the way to the deep, watch it drop, 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 drop. Oh, I'm at the bottom. Come in. And you're not gonna feel bite. You're not gonna feel no thump. You're not gonna feel nothing. What you're gonna feel is it feels like you're stuck in weeds. You really, oh, I'm on a fish. You're gonna feel your rod load up. You don't wanna set the hook. You could, but what I prefer to do is to reel down. Kind of like a drop shot or finesse fishing. Oh, you get a bite, you reel down, and that hook is already exposed. So the fish is already gonna hook himself. You don't wanna rip it out because sometimes they just bite the tail or the half of the bait. But it all depends. Because I did use this bait in the boundary waters. Big walleyes, big pike, big smallmouth. Mille lacs, they bite it. Smallmouth bite it. Walleyes bite it. Everything bites it. So that's one of the craziest techniques that I've mastered the past 2 years. And I would say the biggest thing to learn this, and I recommend all of you guys to try it out too. Just get your little jig minnow just like this. All right?
This is like a ball head jig?
Ball head jig. Doesn't have to be crazy. They sell a lot of expensive stuff, but everything works. The thing is, this is like, I've used like your range rollers to your Sakamata shads to your fluke style baits, and they all work, right? I use the most expensive baits, and I have my friend with me, and he just pulls out, oh, okay, a jig and a fluke, okay. He throws out there, and he catches one too, right? So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's up to you. It's all about confidence. If you put it away, you're not gonna get bit, but if you keep it in your hands, you're gonna catch fish. And that's literally what I did.
Short shake.
Huh?
Long shake or short?
Short. As little as you can. Like for example, for say, with a technique, you have your bait down there, right? What you want to do with your rod tip is you want to barely reel it like this. You're shaking it like this. TV's blocking. Be this way so you guys could see, hopefully. So the rod tip, you just want it like that, if you guys could see. Kind of like you're walking the frog. Bop, 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 but you're doing it with the minnow. And your reel speed, it has to be slow, like this. I'm talking like slow. Because you don't want that bait to be going like that, you know? You want it to be like this, with the water column. So those fish, they're looking at it, they're like, okay. They follow it, and they just go crazy for it.
How heavy is that jig that you have on there?
3/16. You could use 3/16 or a 1/8, depending on wind conditions and the depth of your fishing. The lighter the weight, the slower it moves in the water column.
That's what you want, right?
But yeah, that's what you want, yep. And they go crazy for it, guys. Like, I'm fishing, you don't like, it's just nuts. If you guys see my content or you guys haven't seen it, just look up Bindi Vang fishing on YouTube and you're just gonna see a dude just screaming about fish, you know? But yeah, any other questions, anything else unplanned or whatnot? What's your favorite lake or? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for attending today's seminar.
Thank you. No.
And I think there was 2 guys that, yeah, look at it.
That was really good though, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's nice.
See that fish on your electronics on your forward?
Yep, I've done everything. I could scope them out and see my bait fall out, and I would track them in together too. Yeah.
You have it safety.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big chunk.
Yeah, the bigger the profile,
really?
the bigger the fish wants to come and eat it, you know?
Oh, okay.
That is great.
You could use your tiniest of the body, but I prefer a bigger profile. That way you can cast it out way further. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about that. It's all funky. I like to hook it just like that. But you want medium light.
Yeah.
Medium light.
Or
yeah.
using
6 or 8 pound.
Okay.
6 or 8 pounds. But you can get away with 8.
Mono.
Floral. Fluorocarbon.
Okay.
You want it to sink
Okay.
with the bait. Yeah.
What do you use for what brand fluoro do you use? Where it doesn't curl up?
FC Sniper. Sunline FC Sniper.
FC Sniper. Okay.
Yep, FC Sniper.
Okay.
The fishing line, it's about $20.
Memory's not bad?
It's really good. Like you don't have
That
no
looks good,
curling or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
And what pound is that?
This is 8 pounds. 8 pounds. Yep. You could get away with 6 pounds too. I went up to Mille Lacs and I caught like 4 or 5 pound smallmouth with just 6 pound line.
Yeah.
It's so fun. The rod is bending like crazy and you got good drag, so it's like
Saw you hit your drag
it's
on
crazy.
video.
Yeah. when I set the hook and I was like, it's pulling down. I gotta loosen the drag real quick because I'm sure we all learned our lessons there, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great
You
job.
bet.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Hey.
How you doing? How you doing?
What's up? What's
Good
up?
job. Good job.
Thank you,
Came a little
sir.
late. What's up,
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Take a picture.
Oh yeah, we can take a picture.
They asked me to come too, but I didn't know I wasn't gonna come through on that.
Oh, really?
Good job.
Good seeing you, sir.
I'll see you around.
Yes,
Holla.
sir.
Hey, congratulations, not just on this big fish,
Uh-huh.
but on the whole YouTube thing. You know, I just I sat 50 years ago, I sat in seminars with Al Linder with less people than this. I fish seriously, and I just stumbled on your channel, and I'm very impressed with your whole thing, you know, the family tournaments, all of it, you know.
Oh.
I seen this 7 pounder caught on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and to be on film when you were practicing,
Yeah.
that's very impressive.
Oh man. Well, I appreciate that much so much, sir.
Congratulations
Thank you so
on all
much.
the- So you're primarily always fishing plastics here with
Yeah.
us?
Especially with this mid-strolling jig minnow kind of deal, plastics.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just catches fish. It catches fish. You want to check it out?
I'm gonna watch you at the tank.
Oh yeah, we'll be there at 2.
I know what you're using.
Oh, have you tried it yet?
Mid-strolling, no.
Oh, we got to talk about it. So if you guys are interested.
So what brand are they normally that you're...
The plastics? Oh yeah. Let me bring this to my guy over there real quick. And I actually got the plastic right here for you guys to see. Let me just hold this real quick. All right, let me give him the microphone fast. Thank you, sir.
You betcha. You know what? When you catch a bass like that, you're allowed to sound like a little girl.
Yeah, just lost it. Lost all my composure.
And the clicker's up there, right?
Yeah, let me grab it. Wait, is it in my pocket? Yes, I got it.
I'm glad I asked.
Yes, yeah. Let me show you guys the plastics right over here, where I can come back or whatever. So here's some of my baits that I use. So if you guys can see, so a popular choice that I use is this one. It's called the Depths Sakamata shad, and it looks like this. This is actually the same color that I caught that 7 pounder on. Yeah, golden shiner. That's the color. And what makes it different from other fluke style baits, especially for this technique, is its wings. You see those wings that is on the mold? It helps that bait do this.
Oh, okay.
And because it's doing this, the fish go crazy for it. I don't know what it is. It looks like a dying bait fish.
So that
looks like an
head
easy
there
target.
is kind of that's a 30-degree head or something. That's a swim technique head, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's basically
To me, this is a typical lead head jig.
Exactly. It's crazy too.
Well, but the eye is different. Than
Yeah, the eye's a little different, but
See, the eyes
they
look-
all work though.
Yeah.
They all work. It's crazy. Oh, you're good. No, you're fine. So this is one of them that I like to use, which is the Sakamata shad. This bait is like pretty hard to find sometimes. And
Waypoint.
Yeah, Waypoint has them too. Now that the stock is back, and now this is another one that I started to use too. A smaller profile, 4-inch. Yep.
I know this stuff is really big down south, and I've watched
That's
a lot of
crazy.
video of
Yeah.
it, but I don't quite
Get it yet?
No,
Or
I don't quite
I'm here to help you with that.
figure out the old mid-strolling thing. That
I think this technique.
eye
of
is
the-
really different though.
Yeah, and this is another bait too that's popular. So this is just your super twitch from net bait, and this is your Jackal drift fry.
Oh yeah.
So this one was one of the most popular baits that became popular with some bass fishing tournaments.
What's
What
up
is
with
that
this?
one called? Jackal?
Yeah. Sorry, you can take a look at it. This one, Jackal drift fry.
What's up with that jig head with the
Yeah,
eye being so
good question. This is the Queen's Tackle forward-facing sonar jig head. So with that line tie going in the back, when you actually twitch your rod, it allows the bait to do this a lot more efficiently.
Really?
So guys
That's
are,
kind of unique.
yeah, they have became super creative.
What is the name of the jig?
Queen's Tackle.
They got them here?
Queens Tackle. They should have them at Thorn Brothers, right by the tank too. And I have friends there that can help you show those products too. I use the same jig head here too.
Yeah, I see that.
But yeah, awesome jigs to learn with too. You just catch them like crazy. And like it's a fairly new thing in Minnesota too. So a lot of guys don't want to talk about it.
So it's sliding through the water more, where if you had a boot tail on it,
Yeah, it's like,
it kind of holds it down a little
Yeah.
bit, because yeah.
but this straight tail and it just, that profile of it doing this, it looks so natural. I don't know what it is, but it's just a fish catcher, as you guys can see. A 7-pounder fell for it, like he didn't care. Sucked it up.
Well, that was his
Fish in
question.
Minnesota.
It is.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what
So my
his-
son's
the
question
records
is
are.
about, yeah, he keeps trying to use the different baits. He doesn't have these, but he can't catch anything with the jig. He can only catch with worms.
Oh, he wants to
So-
practice, right?
Is it practice or is it that we just have
Practice.
the wrong?
Practice.
Well, what would you say, Kieran? Come listen.
Come here.
Come tell us. This is Kieran.
Okay, nice to meet you, Karen. Yeah, I heard you like fishing, right? Me too.
Yeah.
So we have
it's called
one
a
thing in
bass,
common.
so
Oh, that's a good one.
It's shallow. It's just like
Oh,
a
that's a
residential.
big one. It's almost bigger than him.
I know. Yeah. So he catches them, but he's like, I can't use jigs. So
Ah.
what's the trick?
The trick is
Because they won't bite. So he just gets one.
he just needs one of these baits right here. Right here.
Yeah.
Take it with you, man. This is the depth Sakamata shad. This is like the holy grail of like forward-facing sonar minnows.
Yeah.
It's yours now.
Oh my god.
It's got a little
thank
hook, so you gotta be careful of that. It might
careful.
poke you or something, but that is
And
the
then-
bait that I
And
caught the
then at
7-pounder.
2 o'clock, you'll show how.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
show how to use it.
Okay.
And that's what you will learn, all right?
Okay. We'll come back.
All right. Yeah, I'll see you guys down there. You guys have any questions?